Hello everyone, welcome back to MLS Moves. Please make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Before we get to the video, I'd like to thank you all for your support and remind you that we're doing a jersey giveaway when we hit 3,000 subscribers. 3,000 subscribers is our goal to reach by the end of this month, so make sure you subscribe, stay subscribed, follow me on Twitter at MLS Moves for the latest updates on the giveaway. Now, on to the video. Inter Miami has been an unstoppable force this season in MLS. Even when things looked grim with all the injuries, including key players like Leo Messi earlier this season, they are still currently in first place in the Eastern Conference and look damn near unbeatable at this point. I brought my friend Donnie of This Is Football to talk about Miami's great start, how much better he thinks they can be when they get healthy, and if he thinks they will win MLS Cup this season. Today, we have my friend Dani of This Is Football to talk Inter Miami, talk about how they're rolling, how good they're playing, and how Messi is absolutely cooking this year. Dani, welcome to the show, my friend.
How are you, Will? It's been a long time coming. We've been talking about doing this show on your pod. I had you on my pod a few months back, right before the season started. But to answer your question, look, I got my Suarez jersey right after he got his hat trick this weekend. So I'm happy, man. I could not have had a better weekend. And I'm excited to talk some football with you.
Yes, it's looking good, man. I know you're excited. I bet all the fans are excited. I mean, this is looking good, man. This is looking good. So just to jump right into it, Inter Miami is absolutely rolling right now. You know, there was some concerns with the injuries they had. Obviously, Messi had kind of a slower start because he had some hiccups and some injuries early on, some hamstring, lower leg injuries. But man, this team is looking scary. And they, like I said, they've got pieces missing, but it doesn't matter. I mean, they just beat the New York Red Bulls 6-2. They ran away with it. I thought someone was about to call the police. It was an absolute beating and assault. Well, I mean, what do you think about it?
Absolutely. I mean, if you really look at the entire game as a whole, that first half was absolutely abysmal. Abysmal. I mean, it was not the Inter Miami that you would expect with a Busquets, a Suarez, and a Messi playing. There was like no movement, zero, kind of zero chances in front of the net. And then it's been kind of an Inter Miami, I guess. I don't know if it's a tradition now to allow the opposing team score within the first 10 minutes of the game, but it's happened like I think the last three games. Tata has been extremely, been under the microscope by a lot of the fan base. They're not happy with, the weird formations and all that, but he finally got it right this game. He finally got it right. He made that sub, brought in Matias Rojas, took out David Ruiz, who wasn't having one of his better games. And wow, did Matias Rojas just change the game? I mean, I was listening to the game on the Spanish commentary, and they were saying how interesting it was and how crazy it was that Matias Rojas just got onto the squad and he was clicking with Messi like if they had been playing together the last 15 years, almost like how Messi and Suarez look when they play together. So I mean, that substitute changed the game and got the team rolling, gave the team another look, something a little bit more offensive. And that's what Matias Rojas gives you, a little bit more of a tactical player, a more clinical player. And you saw that with those 1-2 passes with that he had with Messi and that amazing golazo that he scored to tie up the game. I mean, it was, I mean, that looked like Messi almost scoring, not Matias Rojas scoring. So at first, I thought Messi had scored. And then because it was almost a Messi move, he kind of like kicked it with the outside of his left foot once or twice, got the opening, and boom, knocked it into that top right corner. So it was great to see Mati get in there and click with the team, and the announcers were saying, man, he might become a starter over David Ruiz. So it's just amazing what a month and a half will do. A month and a half ago, everything was, under the microscope, under fire, going crazy. Fire Tata. Let's get somebody else. I know even you and I talked about it. If things don't go well, maybe Xavi will come over and take over for Tata. But I mean, Inter Miami sitting at the top of the table. They're the team with the most goals scored in the MLS, and they haven't lost a game in a few weeks. So I think all is going well in Miami right now, or should I say Fort Lauderdale? All is going well in Fort Lauderdale, and the fans are happy. So um, you can't have it any better. I just think the team needed to be constructed fully, and they finally did that by adding Redondo, who's unfortunately hurt, and Matias Rojas. But you said it, man. When Redondo and Diego Gomez come back, Inter Miami is going to be a very, very, very scary team. Probably one of the best teams the MLS has ever seen.
100%, 100%. And Rojas, when I looked at the signing of him, I thought he was going to be more of a depth piece, and that's obviously came off the bench this last game. It's his first match. I looked at him as more of like Messi insurance, right? Because if when Messi's going to miss for Copa America, you expect Rojas to step in, maybe play on the right wing, or I mean, he's interchangeable, right? He can play several different positions. Great piece to have. You couldn't ask for a better debut. Getting a brace off the bench, first match, right? And it's not that I've haven't heard that he's talented. I've heard from several people he's uber talented, right? It's all about can he stay healthy, which is a theme for many Inter Miami players, right? You hope he doesn't add to the long list of injuries, right? You don't want to add, you don't want him to get injured too. He obviously you see what he can do, but yeah, I mean, I didn't expect that, man. I didn't expect that. I didn't. And let's talk about the man of the hour. Let's talk about the guy who had a goal and 5 assists, man. 5 assists. I haven't done the research on it, but I don't even know if anyone has ever had 5 assists in one game in MLS history. I don't know if that's ever happened before.
I didn't do that research, but I know he has the most goal contributions in a game in history, in MLS history, with 6.
Mhm.
Because he had the 1 goal and 5 assists. So he does hold that record now. I'm looking it up now to see what's the most assists in an MLS game. But it's kind of even crazy to have to look something like that up,
Yeah.
because it's the MLS we're talking about. But it is apparently 5. It is apparently 5. So it looks like Messi holds the record according to what it says here. So I mean, it's incredible what he's doing in this league. My friends and I, when we started the podcast and we talked about Messi coming over to Inter Miami to MLS, we were saying how he was just gonna just carve the league up, and then he got hurt late last season after that magical start, and kind of put a damper on everything that was going on. And then this year, you have a terrible preseason, although the preseason really wasn't meant for what most preseasons are for. And then you had a slow start, and then Messi gets injured, and you're almost like, oh my goodness, like what's going on? But he's back healthy, and when he's healthy, there's nobody better in the world. Um,
No.
I mean, and it just goes to show you the pass he gives to Matias Rojas on that second goal. He threads the defenders. Matias, I mean, it's unbelievable what he does. It's a give and go, moves to the left, threads the defenders. Matias Rojas chips the goalie. Unbelievable. The pass he gives to Suarez's third goal, how he gives it to him, left outside foot, down, I mean, around that defender, and then Suarez gets to it, and how he knows to put it a certain amount of strength on it to know that Suarez is going to get there. I mean, it's just unbelievable. The fact that he's playing in this league is historical, monumental. There's not enough words to describe it. A lot of Inter Miami fans are folks down in South Florida. Let's say, let's not call it Inter Miami fans. Folks down in South Florida are upset because of ticket prices, or because it wasn't like how it was before. And I just tell everybody, just sit back and enjoy it, man. You never know when you're gonna get to see this type of talent together in the MLS ever again. So just sit back and enjoy it. And I say that to the whole league because I know there's a lot of teams and a lot of fans from other teams who are like, how did they do it? They're cheating. And look, it came out the other day, Will. You saw, the paperwork came out the other day for all the teams. I mean, it doesn't look like they're cheating unless, there's some forged stuff or some crazy stuff going on, some funky stuff. It doesn't look like they're cheating.
Cooking the
So
books, man. Some Tweety stuff going on again, huh? Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it earlier, a couple
Yeah.
months ago. We talked about it right before the Redondo signing. When it dropped, when it almost, kind of went away, we were like, oh my God, is there going to be roster sanctions? But no, the front office has done a great job to get this team, roster compliant, and the depth that they have with these veterans and now these young guys that they've put together, and just think about it. When Messi leaves, and maybe could be after next year, the year after, and Suarez leaves, they're still leaving these guys, Gomez, Redondo, Farias, Kremaski, Ruiz, these young guys who are learning from these veterans. And that's the key in this whole thing. And that's the most beautiful part in it, is that these young 18, 19, 20-year-olds are getting to play with some of these legends and,
No,
and learn from them.
exactly.
That's the best part of it.
Exactly. And, talking about Messi, it feels like it's almost effortless, man. It's like he's not even trying his hardest, and it's just like it's easy. It's coming easy to him. And that's the scary thing, honestly, because if that's what's happening, where it looks like it's effortless, and he's not even really in his max gear yet. What's it going to be like down the stretch when? After Copa America, when the playoffs start and they get all these guys back, it's just scary to think about. So, Messi's got 10 goals, 12 assists right now. He's only played 8 games. I think he's only started 7. He came off the bench on one of those games. The MLS record is 34 goals, 15 assists by Carlos Vela, set in 2019 with LAFC. If Messi played this whole season, I think he would absolutely smash that record. Like he would probably score 40 goals, maybe hit close to 30 assists. He still might score 30 goals even if he only plays 25 games this year.
I completely agree. And I was actually looking at some of those stats just to see what kind of records he could possibly break this season. And there was 3 records that I thought were attainable. What the first one of those, and again, he has to have a lot of luck on his side. And I might catch a lot of flack for this one, but it's the Joseph Martinez 15 straight games with a goal. Now he's got 7 straight games with a goal. He would need 9 more. Who's to say that he's not going to score those? He'll get a penalty here or there. It's happened before. We saw it in the World Cup. So and that's where I say I'm going to get a little bit of flack. It's all right. I'm Uruguayan, so I'm allowed to say that. There's a nice rivalry between us. So it's is it possible? Yeah. Is it probable? Probably not. But that's one record that I looked at, and then the Carlos Vela record was the other one that I looked at. Could he possibly break that 49 goal contributions? And I think he could come very close to that, especially if Inter Miami is going to be scoring at the tip that they're scoring right now. I mean, they're scoring 3, 4, 5 goals a game, and who's going to be giving those assists and making those goals? And it's going to be Messi if he has more of these 2, 3 goal contributions a game, which is what he's been almost averaging the last 3, 4 games. If he plays 15 more games, that's 45 right there. So I think it's attainable. And the last one is the assist one. I think the most assists in MLS history is held by a former Miami Fusion and Tampa Bay Mutiny player, and that's Carlos Valderrama at 26.
Yep.
And I think the next person is Maxi Morales,
20, right?
For NYC FC at 20. Messi's already got 10, right? Or 12.
12 assists 12. Already. 12
that's what I'm saying. So
yeah.
Well, that's the most attainable, and I think that's the one he breaks.
Yeah.
And it's what's crazy to think about it is that record has been, in existence for over 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And nobody has come close to breaking it. Messi's played 7 games. He's got 12 assists. It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, no, exactly. And one of the guys that he's on the receiving end of those assists is Luis Suarez, who has 10 goals this year after many people, including myself, I thought he would be good if he could stay healthy. But the question was, how is a 37-year-old striker who has, essentially one good leg at this point going to hold up in a very physically demanding league? Not to say the Brazilian league isn't also physically demanding, but MLS's schedule is a lot more condensed. I mean, you're playing 34 games essentially in like 7 months, right? And he's not going to have as much help as he did in Brazil, because a lot of the other guys on the team are older. They're probably going to get injured themselves. You know, he's going to be playing with lesser quality players, or, you know, on average. But man, he's balling out. He's got 10 goals. If it wasn't for Messi uh, overshadowing what he had been doing, I would say Luis Suarez has probably got to be number 2, number 3 in the MVP consideration, right? So, what are your thoughts on
Absolutely.
Luis Suarez so far this year?
I mean, I love Luis Suarez. He's my favorite player of all time. So I'm probably never, ever, ever going to talk negative about him. But I agree. I think along with Messi and maybe Cucho, those have been the top 3 players in MLS thus far. Luis Suarez caught a lot of, a lot of a bad rap the first couple of games because he looked a little off. He even had Taylor Twellman basically retire him in that LA Galaxy game, saying, it was a shame that he had to see him, walk that way and all that. I saw somebody post something on social media that Taylor should send him his best wine, or something as an apology. And I kind of chimed in and said I think he owes him a little more than that. He essentially retired him, and and,
Yeah.
and Suarez has come back, since the LA Galaxy game, and scored 10 goals, not counting the 2 that he scored in CONCACAF Champions Cup, which he scored in both games against Nashville. So he's got essentially 12 goals this season, 5 assists. 17 goals and assists in the first 12, 13, 14 games that the team has played. I mean, I think if anybody thought he was going to give you those numbers, you'd probably think that person was crazy. And I'm that person. I
Yeah.
said, on my podcast, I also am on another podcast that I do with some friends, other friends, called the Battered Herons. We do it in Spanish though. It's a Spanish podcast, and I was telling, tell the followers all the time, guys, you got to be patient. Luis Suarez is a late starter. Luis Suarez is going to mentor the younger, players, Campana, Borgelin. He's gonna be that type of teammate. And that's exactly what he's doing. I mean, you and I talked about it after the last game. One of the goals that Inter Miami scored, how he bodied out the defender, not only once but twice. That's something that Leo Campana, who is 3, 4, 5 inches taller than Luis Suarez, should be doing on a daily basis. So for him to be
Mhm.
seeing that is priceless. And I don't, when Campana, starts to get his minutes, and I know he will, because Suarez is eventually going to need some time to relax. And I think he might get called by the national team to the Copa America, by the way, if he continues playing like this. So if he gets called, it's going to be Campana's turn to shine. And I have no doubt, under the tutelage of Suarez, I've seen it before with other forwards under Suarez. They do very well after he departs. So, I'm looking forward to seeing Campana play.
Yeah, I was thinking if he stayed healthy, I thought Suarez was capable of scoring probably around 15 goals, maybe 20 in a good situation, right? I mean, I think he's going to clear 20 easy. I mean, he's what, 12, is it, they played 12 games this year? I know Messi's only played 8, maybe 11 games this year. Miami, I know they played one more than everybody else.
Right.
So it's essentially he's got 22 games left and he's already halfway there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
They 12 games so far.
yeah, 12 games. I think he's maybe only played like maybe 10 or 11. I think he did miss one game, because they rested him for the Champions League. But yeah, he's already halfway to 20 and there's still 22 games left. So the only thing that could stop him from scoring 20 goals this year is if he gets an injury, or if he does go to Copa America, which, like you said, that's definitely possible. I mean, you're not going to turn down a striker who's in great form, who, maybe he doesn't start, but at least could come off the bench. I mean, I don't know if he would start for Uruguay right now. I don't know if they've, I don't think he would, right?
No, he
Yeah,
definitely wouldn't. Darwin Nunez is right now probably
yeah,
the undeniable starter. But definitely, like you said, off the bench. I mean, who wouldn't want probably the most legendary Uruguayan soccer player coming off the bench? Just being in that locker room probably would just mean a lot. So who knows? And that's the biggest question mark around Inter Miami as a whole this season. And I'm sure we're going to get to that in a little bit. Is player availability. And when it comes down to Copa America and the Olympics, which we have two tournaments this summer. Who's going to be available? Who's not? And what games are basically going to they play shorthanded? Because players are going to be gone. So that's going to be really interesting as the season continues.
Yeah. So one thing I want to ask you too is obviously we talked about Martino Tata getting a lot of criticism. A lot of people were kind of like, "Yeah, man, I want this guy out. He's not good enough." There's the beef with him and Messi. It's coming back. Like there's this friction. Let's get Xavi here. Let's move on. Lick our wounds. Man, he's doing good. He's doing good. Like if you look at the totality of his tenure with Miami, he's won Leagues Cup. He's got a winning record. They're rolling right now. Obviously, there's things he could do better. There's things that every manager could do better, right? And I know that sometimes he can be a little stubborn tactically in his methods. But man, I don't know how you could say he's not doing a good job right now. Do you think that those rumors are put to bed for the immediate future of Tata's job security?
Absolutely. I don't think there should be any more rumors regarding his job security. You said it. The team is sitting at the top of the table for the first time in the history, of the club. Tata won the Leagues Cup a month after he came in. The biggest criticisms, at least among the fan base and those who are against Tata, is that he doesn't win without Messi. And that's like, come on, it's like obviously it's a tough task to win, without Messi and some of the other players. So I mean, I don't think that's a good enough argument to fire a coach to say, oh, he doesn't win without one player. Yeah, is he a little bit stubborn? Does he like to play that 3-5-2, 5-3-2 a little bit too often? Absolutely. Should he stick with the 4-3-3? 100%. But
100%, man.
but even Pep Guardiola, who's probably the greatest coach or one of the greatest coaches of all times, gets into his own head and will bench Phil Foden when he probably shouldn't, or he'll start, he'll put somebody weird to start that you wouldn't expect in a semifinal or a final. It's we've seen it before. So coaches can be coaches and they can get into their own head. I just think overall, Tata's never been, in my opinion, a great tactician. I think he's more of a great manager of egos. Just you know, I interviewed a former Atlanta United player, and he said, Tata's like, and the reason why they call him Tata in Argentina and in Uruguay, Tata's grandfather. So essentially, he was telling me how Tata basically treated them like he was like they were his kids or his grandkids. And so they looked up to him, in that sort of way and that sort of father figure, grandfather figure. And so that's why I think, he catches a bad rap because of his tactics. I don't think he's a great tactician. He never was, like I said. He's just more of a player's coach, and he's a great manager of egos. And he's showing this year that he is capable of leading a team to top of the table.
Yeah, and I never really had any doubts about his capability of leading this team because I seen what he's done with Atlanta United, build a team from an expansion team from the ground up with his players. One of the most exciting teams I've ever seen in MLS history, the 2017 and the 2018 Atlanta United. And I mean, where else are you going to find a manager on the market who's coached Messi at the club level and at the national team level, and also has coached MLS? Like it was literally the perfect storm. There wasn't a better coaching candidate that was available from Inter Miami to hire. I think he's doing a great job. He's definitely in contention for coach of the year as well. When you're a good team like this, a lot of your players are in contention for awards, right? Obviously. So yeah, I mean they're rocking and rolling, man. Let's that's another thing too. Obviously there's some rule changes. We'll see what they do, what their method is. They've got 4 U22s right now. Obviously Farias is kind of like on the sidelines. He's not necessarily counting at this moment. Are they going to, sign another DP? That's to be determined. Are they just going to roll with what they have? Maybe add some. I think you get it like $2 million in additional general allocation money if you go the 4 U22 2 DP route. So, having said all that, when this team gets all their players back, Redondo, Diego Gomez is back healthy, Jordi Alba's back healthy. Obviously, Frias is not coming back this year. He's going to miss the 2024 season. And
Right.
then you have $2 million in GAM to add more depth to this squad that's already loaded. Man, I mean, who's beating this team?
Honestly, I have no idea, and you're missing a couple key pieces in there. So not only are they getting an additional 2 million in GAM, but right now the three DPs that Inter Miami have are Sergio Busquets, Leo Messi, and Leo Campana. Leo Campana is available to be bought down to a TAM player. So if they do that, it opens up that DP spot. Now they could be used on a defender. The two biggest names that have been rumored to have to be tied to the team are Sergio Ramos, obviously because of his Spanish background and his closeness of playing with Messi at PSG, and his closeness of playing on the national team with the other two Spaniards. The other one is Nacho, also who plays in Real Madrid. Now, a name that I think should be on the radar, and I think would be actually really interesting, should be Thiago Silva. He's not going back to, he's not resigning with Chelsea at the end of the season. He's rumored to be going back to a team in Brazil, but I think some MLS teams should take a look at him. I think he still has enough in the tank to be a leader on a team, to be the leader in the back line. And I think it would give Miami an extra needed depth in that back line. Now, how are they going to do that? Because that would be take an international spot. I think they're going to trade somebody, and the one person who I think they trade is Robert Taylor. And you might ask me why. He's been probably one of the club's best players, since its inception, other than Lewis Morgan when he was here, and now obviously Leo Messi and his friends. But why Robert Taylor? He's a free agent next season. He's on a nice salary, and I think they could trade him for an extra international spot, maybe some extra GAM, maybe some extra TAM. So be on the lookout for him to be on the move. Again, that's not by any source or anything. That's my personal opinion, based off of what we saw on by Matias Rojas, and obviously knowing that Diego Gomez is coming back, Redondo's coming back, and they have all those pieces still there. So I do look for them to make a move, a couple moves in the summer, whether that be like I said, bringing in a defender, maybe bringing in another forward. We'll see what happens. It's going to be really interesting. But the extra money and the possibility of trading Robert Taylor and getting something back is really intriguing, and it puts Miami in a really really nice spot this summer.
Well, as far as like the rule that they just recently changed, is if as far as I understand it, if you go the two DP route, that's how you get the $2 million in additional GAM. If you only
Okay,
have two DPs, you have to have, but you also are allowed to sign up to four U22s. So technically, they could buy Campana down, because his wages, he's not. I mean, he's a DP, but just like in name only, they can buy him down.
correct.
Then they can sign a U22, which obviously is more friendly against the cap, right? Get a nice young, good quality young kid again, maybe from Argentina. That's the trend, right?
Maybe
And then they
from
get that
Uruguay this time,
maybe
hopefully.
from Uruguay. Yeah, maybe we get some Suarez connections, right? And then they get the 2 million in GAM. Maybe they sign a defender. Maybe they get a goalkeeper. Maybe Calendar gets sold this summer. Maybe I think his stock is kind of low right now. I don't think he's going anywhere, to be honest with you. But there was talks about maybe trying to get an international goalkeeper to kind of push him a little bit, saying that he's kind of a little complacent, like there's not really a lot of competition there. He's kind of, and that's why he's regressing, or not, he's not playing as well as he did in Leagues Cup. I think anybody who watches Miami closely would agree he is not playing nearly as well as he did in Leagues Cup. I mean, he was playing out of his mind, and they should have sold him after that. Honestly,
Yeah, I completely agree, and honestly, I still think he's one of the top goalkeepers under the pipes, under the three posts. His major issue, and it's always been his issue, is playing with his feet and knowing, having the right timing of when to attack the ball on a set piece or a corner kick or some sort of center. That's where he has trouble. He doesn't have the best timing, so he mistimes it, and that's where a lot of goals come in. So I think he really needs to focus on those two areas if he wants to take that next step. The other thing that folks really talk about him is that he's kind of like a super chill person, kind of like just very easy and all that. And I guess, to be the best or to get to that next level, you got to have a little bit of hungriness inside of you. So, maybe he's missing that, and maybe he might need some sort of international goalkeeper or somebody to come in and kind of whip him into shape. Maybe Sebastian Saha, the goalkeepers coach, isn't doing it only by himself, and he needs a little bit of help. So, there's some rumors with De Gea. We'll see what
I was going to
happens.
say, hey, there's a certain goalkeeper on the market right now, free agent, man. That would be nice. He's only, 33, 34, is still have several years he can contribute as a goalkeeper. You can play into your 40s or at least early 40s.
100%. There's another goalie who'll be a free agent at the end of this summer, also who I'd be interested in, and that's Peter Schmeichel, the goalkeeper for, if I'm not mistaken, Denmark. But uh, I mean, he's a great goalkeeper as well. So again, it's just trying to get more talent, and better players on the team. So I'm for bringing anybody. Again, I'd rather go the U22 route. You know me, I like the young players, and then get that 2 million in GAM instead of getting another DP. But hey, man, there's a lot of players rumored to come this summer, so it's gonna be one crazy MLS transfer summer window.
Oh yeah, for sure. It might even exceed last summer, which was we already know is crazy. I think the Inter Miami, anybody who's looking at it objectively would say it's the best team in MLS right now. I mean, that's just how it is. I just call balls and strikes. When they're healthy, even when they're not healthy, they seem unbeatable, especially when they played like they did Saturday. I mean, they beat a team in the Red Bulls who had been playing very, very well this year, a really well coached team, and they didn't just beat them; they pummeled them. They beat them 6-2. I mean, it did not look good, like you said in the first half, and then the second half, the doors got blown off. So yeah, it's going to be scary, man. It's going to be scary to see. Is it any final thoughts about like just the season in general? Like you feeling pretty good? Do you think this team is going to end up winning MLS Cup?
Uh, I think it becomes down to health and availability. If the team is healthy in October, there's no doubt in my mind they win MLS Cup. I don't think any team in MLS can beat this team. Again, I also think they beat Monterrey if they're fully healthy. So it comes down to the health of this team, and that's really what soccer, I guess, really all sports come down to is, does your team stay healthy? Are they healthy at the right time? So there's going to be a lot of soccer this summer. The Olympics, like we talked about, Copa America, a lot of games that these guys are going to play. And you don't know who's going to get called. You don't, Matias Rojas, after that performance, let's say he ties three more like that together, he might get called by Paraguay. And now you're down another player. So, Inter Miami could be down 8, 9 players at one point this summer, depending on what tournaments, players choose to play. So we'll see if Diego Gomez recuperates in time to be called up for Copa America. If he doesn't, we know he's a shoo-in for the Olympics because, Inter Miami has given him the option for one or the other. Now Messi, uh, I don't know if he was given an option or not. I think he can choose to play both if he wants. But I think he'll just play Copa America. We'll see. I have a theory that he does want to play Olympics because that was the first trophy he ever won, representing Argentina, and it would almost bring his career full circle to win
Story,
the
yes,
right to
exactly,
win the gold
exactly.
medal again at the Paris Olympics. So, but that would be terrible for Inter Miami because he would miss almost
Mm.
another 2 or 3 weeks. So, getting back down to it, I think right now, the fact that they lost out on the CONCACAF Champions Cup, it's MLS or bust. I'm not interested in the supporter shield, the cheese platter shield. Not interested in that. I'm only interested in trophies. Nothing, no regular season winners here. The only team anybody cares about is that one at the end of the season who's holding up the MLS Cup. And in my opinion, if the pink and black stay healthy, it's going to be them.
Well, we'll see, man. We'll see. It doesn't look like anybody's beating them right now. They look pretty unbeatable. So, Denny, where can everybody follow you at?
Just like it says on the screen right there, if you're watching on YouTube, you can catch me at Danny Solana, Danny with an I, like a South American, not like a gringo. So that's DANISOLANA 5. And I also have a podcast. It's at TI Football Podcast. It's the This is Football podcast. We do interviews with players. We're in a little bit of a hiatus right now as we retool and get ready for the next step. But we'll be back with, we're still all over social media, and we'll be back with shows very, very soon. I hope to be covering some of the Copa America, some of Messi's games, and some of Suarez's games. So we'll see if I can get some inside information on there and do some shows. But yeah, you can catch me on there. And thanks a lot for having me, Will. It's always a good time with you, man.
Make sure you guys give him a follow. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. And Danny, I appreciate it, man. It was a lot of fun. Until next time. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification so you never miss a video. And until next time, I will see you all soon.